Hello from beautiful but steamy Southwest Florida, Sanibel Island, just off of Fort Myers out in the Gulf of Mexico. For today's adventure, we are taking the Ford F-150 Lightning, pulling this 5,000 pound Airstream camper to Northeast Ohio. It's going to be about 1,200 miles. We're going to try to do it all with Tesla Superchargers. I'm not sure that'll work out, but that's the goal. Mostly because they're bigger and they have more access. It's easier to get in and out with the trailer. So come along with us. Welcome back to E-Hermes, your electric adventure travel channel. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit that bell button to be notified of our upcoming content. We are starting off with somewhere, it says it's still 100% charge on our battery, so we're going to try to get north of Tampa for our first stop. We'll see if we make it that far or not. I don't quite know the range on this camper that well, pulling this camper that well, but we'll see how far we get. Again, we're going to try to use Tesla Superchargers wherever possible. We're going to drive a reasonable speed, and for that reason, we're probably going to stay off the interstate for the most part. I don't mind driving 60 or even 70 pulling this camper, but much beyond that, I don't think it's safe to pull a camper that size with this size truck, and it's only got a single axle, so a tire blowout always concerns me a little bit on that. So we'll be on rural roads for the most part, except maybe around major metropolitan areas where the traffic's just too heavy. And that should keep our speed around 60 miles an hour, which is kind of where I prefer it. Let's see what happens. Always enjoy going over the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. It's still a pretty good engineering marvel. I don't think it's the biggest or tallest or longest of anything now, but in its day it was pretty spectacular, and it still is. Alright, I've decided that we're going to stop at a charger in St. Petersburg. I could go further. I have about 60 more miles of range, and the charger's only 10 miles away, so I'm going to leave about 50 miles in the battery. But the reason I'm stopping there is because it is a 20 stall Tesla Supercharger. So hopefully it's in a big area. I've never been to it, but hopefully it's in a big area and I won't have to unhook the trailer, which is what I'm really trying to avoid, especially in the rain. Here we are at the Tesla Superchargers at the Wawa station. And as I say, there's 20 of them here. Hopefully I can get in here and not, oh, there's Cybertruck. And not block too many other ones. Let's see, maybe if I come this way and go by this Rivian and grab that one right beside him. Oh, I think this might work. Might work. It just might. Had a little trouble hooking up. The one I tried to hook to said it was out of order, but the one beside it was the one that was out of order, so I had to move up one stall. I am blocking two now, the one I'm using and another one, but there's 20 here and there's maybe half being in use. So I think we're good and did not have to unhook in the rain. I really did not want to stop in Ocala or Gainesville. I've had trouble charging there before. It's busy, it's tight. There's a station north of Gainesville, a Tesla Supercharger, 12 stall, that should be available. It's going to be a 162 mile trip from the last charger to get there, which is really cutting it close. I've been going 60 miles an hour pretty steady, getting 1.5 miles per kilowatt hour. The car right now says I'm 5 miles short, but I think I'll make it. We'll see. If you see here, my available power has been cut as I'm at 16% battery, so it's cut me down to 95% available power. Not that I doesn't need any of that, but it'll probably get down to about 50% by the time I get to the station, if I get to the station. That's where we're trying to get to. Alakua, whatever the name of that town is, northwest of Gainesville. The blue line is my range. It shows I'm short. The car says I'm 4 miles short between the available battery and distance to go, but I think it's a little conservative and I think I can make it. This is my second warning. Now the car says I'll be 2 miles short. It's gonna be really close. I'm glad Mrs. E-Hermes is not with us for this. She would not be happy. Because it is so close, the last 10 miles here I've slowed down to 55. We are down to 1% and we're still on the highway. Have to get off here and drive about a mile. Hopefully on 0% I can drive 1 mile. We'll see. Here I am with 0%. It says 1 mile, but it actually stopped on me on the way in the driveway. I had to stop the truck for a minute. Just sat there, let things cool off a little bit, enough to get up over a little hill, and then I was able to turn and come down here to the charger. That's cutting it way too close. So the reason I think the vehicle wouldn't move forward was not that it didn't have any charge, because it did. It had, well, 0%, but it showed that it had a mile of charge. But the power got all the way down to 0. So I had to go up a little hill, and to get there, I think the motor was too hot. So by stopping just for a few, maybe 15 seconds, then I just squeezed on the accelerator and crawled up over the hill. And then it was kind of downhill into the parking lot, into the Chargers, so I knew I was pretty good there. But it was not a good feeling to be within sight of the Chargers and the vehicle not moving forward. Fortunately, it cooled off just enough to get me over the hill. Now that I think about it, what really set it off, I think, was the regen. When I slowed down for the traffic light, I didn't actually come to a complete stop, but I kept rolling because I didn't want to start from 0. But I think that actually maybe overheated the battery just a touch, and that's why after I let it sit for a few seconds, it let me crawl up over the hill. But in any case, we don't need to cut it that close anymore. We charged to 80%. It was 104 kilowatt hours we added. Costs $40.56. We were there for an hour and 10 minutes. It charged pretty slow because the battery was so hot from being discharged so bad and then supercharged right back up. So I'm not surprised. It was the highest it got was in the 120s. It was generally around 90 kilowatts that it was charging at. That had to do with the heat of the battery, not the charger at all. That was our last charger in Florida. Our next stop is Valdosta, Georgia. Here we are crossing the state line from Florida into Georgia. Pulling up to the Tesla Supercharger in Valdosta, Georgia. And I'm familiar with this one. I've been to this one. It is small and tight. And I believe this might be my first place I have to unhook the trailer. We'll try it this way, from this end maybe. Guy in the regular parking spot's not helping me out. Not that he's doing anything wrong. It's certainly a legitimate spot, but. So even though that is a very tight parking lot, they do have access to both sides of the Chargers now, which I think they used to have bollards there and you could only get at them from one side. But I do see some people have hit the pedestal, so I see why they had the bollards. In any case, the bollards are gone. You can get at them from both sides. I was able to sneak in on the end, and I did block in a car, but it turned out it was one of the nice young lady that worked in the Moe's sandwich shop that was attached. So we were able to leave it there and not have to worry about anyone trying to get out, because she said she had a couple hours to work yet. So we are back on the road now, headed to Buc-ee's for our next charger. Oh yeah. Beautiful sunset this evening. Beautiful. Even though night is falling, I've just had enough of the interstate. There's a federal route that runs parallel to it. I'm going to drive on that for a while. I've been going 60 because I do get much better range efficiency that way. But at night, the trucks passing me on the interstate, I just think we'll get off and go on the back roads for a little bit, and there should be less traffic and generally lower speeds, so 60 miles an hour will fit right in. While it's probably better during the day, even at night it is nice to see the small towns and go through those things. I'm just not in that big of a hurry. If I was, I'd stay on the interstate, but I'm happy, as I said at the beginning of the trip, that I would generally be on the back roads, except to get through the major cities and to get up Florida. There's a lot of urban areas along the coast, so staying in the interstate made sense, but now we're going to stay off of it for the most part. We have arrived at Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's covers all the bases.
Turn left, then take the first right.
They've got gas, they've got diesel, they've got Tesla Superchargers, and they have ChargePoint Super.
Turn left,
DC
then
fast
take
chargers.
the first right.
They've got it all. And they've got good food too. And there are the Tesla Superchargers. I think we can squeeze our way into one of these. Actually prefer if I was coming from the other direction. Let's do this. And then we'll do this. Oh, that's the handicap one. And, all right, the end one's the handicap one, so we're not gonna do that one. I mean, there's nobody here, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm trying not to block too many. Well, gotta block a bunch. But, as I say, I think there's 20 of them and there's nobody here, so. Okay, here we go. Buc-ee's, as always, did not disappoint. Had a delicious turkey sandwich and a bottle of water and very clean restrooms. Now we're on to Commerce, Georgia, the Tesla Supercharger at something Banks Crossing. We are turning onto Banks Crossing Drive in Commerce, Georgia. There are 12 Tesla Superchargers here. There they are, all lined up. And it is about 3:40 in the morning, so I am going to try to get a little nap while I charge here. And it might be light by the time I wake up, honestly. And then we'll get back on the road after that. So this may be a long charge, more because I'm sleeping than because we need to be here that long. Well, I was able to sleep for about an hour, and then I woke up. I'm at 92%. There's no sense in sitting here for another hour to go 8 more percent. So off we go to Sylva, North Carolina. Dawn is certainly beginning to break. I don't know when sunrise is, but I'm guessing it's about 20 minutes from now. Maybe less than that behind the mountains. It's a little hard to say. We'll be going through Cherokee, North Carolina, then through Great Smoky Mountain National Park, to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, then to Bristol, Tennessee, then to Wytheville, Virginia, then to up 77 to Northeast Ohio. Here is the state line sign. Couldn't really see it very well. Hopefully this one shows up a little bit better on the camera. Welcome to North Carolina. Simply turning around to go back to Dunkin' Donuts, but there are the Tesla Superchargers in Franklin, North Carolina. We won't be needing those. We can skip them to the next one. Simply would not be a E-Hermes trip without a stop at Dunkin' Donuts. Right, here we are in Sylva, North Carolina. The way they're laid out, this is not going to be pleasant. Fortunately, there's not a lot of people here. To be exact, there's no one. So that's helpful. They keep putting that handicap one at the end, which I get it, but man, then I gotta come in like this. And maybe try to this. Leave a couple of them. Not good. US 441 runs right through the heart of Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So that's where we're headed. We're headed up to Gatlinburg and then to Pigeon Forge, where we'll charge again. We have some elk here right by the side of the road. And some more. Grazing in the morning meadow. This is Newfound Gap on the Continental Divide here in the Great Smoky Mountains, part of the Blue Ridge Mountains. The elevation according to the truck is 5,062 feet. I don't know what the actual elevation is. I'm looking to see if there's a sign here. I don't see one. But this is the high point. We only got 0.6 miles per kilowatt hour coming up here. Now we should get probably almost 2 going back down the other side. Here we go. One of the several tunnels. One of my favorite spots is coming up. It's where they were coming down the mountain. They couldn't figure out how to make the grade work, so they did an over and under. You go, I guess from the upside, you go over the road, then it curves hard to the right, and then you go under where you have just been. Kind of like a corkscrew. There was a sign for it, briefly flashed by. Shows the loop. Here we're going to go over it. The road's below us now. We're gonna curve hard right here. Really hard right. Really hard right. Really hard right. And then go under where we just were. And that's how they were able to get down this steep section of the mountain. It's pretty ingenious. So the GPS is wisely avoiding Gatlinburg by using the Pigeon Forge bypass. I just want to add a few things about the Continental Divide. That was also the state line, so since then we've been in Tennessee. And boy, did we get regen coming down the other side. We're up to 2.0 miles per kilowatt hour, still pulling the trailer from our last charging stop in Sylvia, North Carolina. Well, here we are at the Pigeon Forge Chargers, but I put the wrong address in because these are not superchargers. These are destination chargers, which I have an adapter for that. It would work, but it would take forever, so we can't do that. So I have to go back to the drawing board and figure out where I made my mistake and get back to the right place. I did have the right direction and an address, I guess. It's just at the very opposite end of the parking lot of the whole property from where I entered. But here we are, and I wish they weren't parked there, but they are. So I don't know. Hang on. We finally fought our way out of the tourist traffic in Pigeon Forge and Sevierville, Tennessee, and now we're on Interstate 40 heading east to Interstate 81, which will take us to Interstate 77, which will take us almost to home. So for this one, we're going to pull straight in to only block 2 stalls, the one I'm using plus the one adjacent to it. There's plenty of room behind me in the drive lane for people to get by. All right, one more tunnel just for poops and giggles. This is Big Walker Mountain Tunnel, I believe. It is in Virginia. I am pretty sure this is our last tunnel of the day. This is the East River Mountain Tunnel on the West Virginia border. When we come out the other side, we will be in West Virginia. Wild and wonderful West Virginia, as it were. All right, this is Princeton, West Virginia. It took me 2 cracks at approaching this to get it squared away the way I wanted to, where I'm only taking up 1 stall and barely blocking the driveway. We're gonna be here for a little bit. Then we have Ripley, West Virginia, then New Philadelphia, Ohio, and I think that may get us home. We'll see. Well, I stayed there until I got to 80%, which is pretty typical of my goal, because it said the next station was 107 miles, and I knew I could easily make that. But now that I've left, it says it's actually 130 miles, which I probably can't make. So I'm gonna have to stop at an interim station, or I could try to push my luck like yesterday, but once a trip doing that, I think's enough. All right, I've gotten to the bottom of the mystery about why at first it said I could make it to the second charger, and now it's saying I can't. Apparently, the first charger is in a valley, and then the second charger is up on a ridge, and purely distance I would have enough, but apparently I don't have enough to get up that ridge. So we're gonna stop at the first charger, charge for 10 minutes probably, then get on to the second one, and then on to the one in Ohio, and maybe we're done. But that's the reason why. It has to do with the mountains here, and generally terrain doesn't have that great of an effect on range overall, because if you go up and you go back down, there's some losses due to heat and things, but it's pretty close to a wash. But if you're only going up and you don't have the benefit of the going down, you can get into trouble if you can't get to the top of the ridge. So that's the issue, and I'm glad they figured that out for me, actually, because I would not have known where the elevation was. That's fairly new with their software, knowing and taking elevation into account. All right, so the Tesla Supercharger in Charleston, I knew it was new. It's brand new. Not even sure they're on, except that someone's over here charging, so I guess they are. So we're going to charge at 1A and make sure everything works. Ripley, West Virginia. Tesla Superchargers. I turned in the wrong drive, but I think I can get there from here. Maybe? Maybe not. Yeah, we'll see. There's a lot of traffic there at the road. Is this connected? It is not connected. Can I get to him from the back? Not really. Can I get to that first one from back here? That would be quite the coup, wouldn't it? Maybe with the Rivian I could, but not with this. That charge port's just too far back. So I drove back to the proper driveway, went around the back of the building, and was able to wrap the camper around the transformer that serves the superchargers and able to charge without unhooking. Just like this. We charged up to 92% in Ripley, West Virginia. That leaves us one stop in New Philadelphia, Ohio. There is an alternative, but it is an Electrify America that almost always has a station down, almost always is full, and would almost certainly require me to unhook the trailer. So I'm really going to try to stretch things, not as extreme as I did yesterday, and get to New Philadelphia, Ohio. When we get there, we'll charge to about 80%, and then we can head for home. Here we are at the Sheets in New Philadelphia, Ohio. About 20 miles south of Canton, just off 77, Interstate 77. Oh, this is good. They got a bunch of pull-throughs. This is our last charging stop. We probably only need to go to about 60% here, and then we will be able to head to our home. When we get there, I'm going to bed because I've been up for, I don't know, 36 hours or something. So I'll do a recap in the morning with all the statistics for the overall trip, but the big point was we were able to do the whole trip, about 1,300 miles, using only Tesla Superchargers to charge with. What a difference a good night's sleep makes. So we are back. Let's look at some of the statistics. One thing I want to point out, I know I said we charged at all Tesla Superchargers. We never had to unhook the trailer either, and that's because, in my opinion, well, for two reasons. I do a lot of charging at night when I'm driving like that, so there's nobody at any of the charges. It really wouldn't matter. But the way they're laid out is generally in a bigger area. It's not that they're laid out any better necessarily for the Lightning. It's just that they're generally, not always, but generally in a much more open area. So I can come in at an angle. I can sometimes come from the back. I can come from the side. Sometimes I can pull straight in, and there's so much room behind me, like at a Buc-ee's, it doesn't matter, even with the trailer. So that's an important factor. So overall, it was 1,358 miles. We spent $343.53 in charging for 985 kilowatt hours of electricity. Averaged about 35, 36 cents. I think part of that is, I think it was generally 36. Sometimes it was 41 with my discount for the membership. But I charged at home the last time, and I didn't factor that in. It's really cheap at home, so it's not that big a deal. But it probably averaged closer to 37 or 38 cents per kilowatt hour. Still not bad. We hope you enjoyed this video looking at hauling a Airstream Bambi camper from Sanibel Island, Florida to Northeast Ohio and charging only at Tesla Superchargers the entire way. If you did, please hit the like button. Of course, we know you're subscribed by now, and please hit that bell button to be notified of our upcoming content. Thank you!